Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is video 1 of 3. If you notice, Employees is highlighted in blue where my cursor is. And in the center of the screen, Employee is highlighted in blue. And the tabs to the right of it are all items that are related to employee. Training, job descriptions, time cards, expense reports. And at the very end, dashboards, the metrics that go along to employees. Now let's take a look at what EzQMS has created for a database for employees. The standard information, first name, last name. The main information for the employee and attachments including photo. And then if you notice, in the center, the division, the department, and we have a pull down for departments. If the department doesn't exist, we can add documents or a department on the fly. Then personal information, that home email address, emergency contacts, and then HR information, maybe male, female, the social security number, the date of birth, and then attendance. No database created at this time, but we'll be doing that in additional demos. So let's go back to the main employee tab. Now, matter of fact, let's take a look at suppliers. And again, supplier highlighted in blue. In the center of the screen, suppliers and the tabs that are related to suppliers. And let's take a look at one of our suppliers. Again, a database related to the supplier, the contacts that go with the supplier, fields for notes, products, and including directions. And if you notice, now we can see with an interactive with Google Maps, and the information is being pulled from the address information that we put into our database. All right, let's go back out to supplier. And then let's take a look at our dashboards that we have for suppliers. Now the database in this demo only has 3 suppliers entered into the system, but one of them being an EDM, one of them industrial supply, and one machining. If we're interested in taking a look, we can drill down to see who is industrial supply, and that takes us directly to the table for that information. All right, now let's go back out to the employee tab. Now, over here to the right, you'll see I got personal navigation, my activities. Now, I'm leaving this open so that you can see what we're going to do is we're going to create an expense report, and it's going to kind of help us to understand how workflows work with the software. So let's go ahead and create an expense report. Okay, now, expense submitted by, the system already knows how I'm logged in. So what we're going to do now is take a look at the scanned receipts. Now, I've already scanned all my receipts when I was creating my expense report. So let's go ahead and pull those in. And let's go ahead and get the details. Airfare, expense date, expense amount, associated with, customer 1, vendor used, delta. But look underneath there, it says new. So if the vendor doesn't exist, we could actually add a new vendor on the fly. Now, what I want to show you is associated with client, it's fixed. I only got customer 1 through 4. And so we're leaving this so that if we do demos, you can find out how easy it is to actually convert this into a table and be able to add things on the fly. So let's go ahead and continue. Add some meals. $7.54. Customer 1. And Wendy's. And we forgot to say Delta. So that's good. Now watch over here to my activities. Once I save it, the workflow is actually going to tell me what I need to do. And so right now I'm at the point to submit the expense report. And now until I click next step, it's still in my hands. Now during this demo, keep in mind, I am going to be the submitter. I'm going to also approve, review, and approve expense reports. All right, so let's take a look at the workflow. The workflows, we start and then submit expense report, which right now it's in yellow, is exactly where we are. And then once I click and move it on, somebody's going to review and approve it. And if they approve it, the question becomes, on the decision tree, is it over $3,000? And if the answer is no, we can process for payment and we can finish. If it's greater than $3,000, it requires a director approval. And then we follow through. Director approval, approve, not approve, and if it's approved, process for payment. All right, so let's go ahead and submit the expense report. And so in order to do that, I'm going to click next step. Now watch over here to the right my activities. Now we're on review and approve. Now during the workflow, I could have an email notification sent, and so if I was actually on the road, my email notification would tell me I'd have an activity and I could use my smartphone to actually review and approve this document. But since I'm in front of my PC right now, I'm going to go ahead and approve this document. Everything looked fine that was submitted. Now you can see last approved by B. Eichenlaub. And so now it's time for me to move it on. Now remember, the dollar amount's $232.54. So it only requires one signature. It's not above $3,000. So what's going to happen? Next step, it's going to come back. It says my portion of the activity is completed. So let's go back out to that employee tab. And we told the workflow to actually send an email. And I got this email saying, "Hello Brian, the expense report Eichenlaub submitted on 5/9/2011 has been approved. Thank you, EzQMS Accounting." So the workflow did exactly what we told it to do. All right, now let's go back to the expense reports. And let's take a look at the last expense report that was submitted. And you can see that it was a manager approval, did not require a director approval, and on my workflow, everything should be in green. We submitted it, I got it reviewed and approved, it was under $3,000, processed for payment and finished. And someone during this webinar is going to sit and go, "Brian, so how cool is this? We could in the workflow, you're basically telling me that now we have a manual mode for accounting to go ahead and enter all the information we just entered and then process for payment. Yep. So could the system import the data that we just created into the accounting system? And the answer is yes, it can. So I want you to know how important workflows are of how we can minimize error, how we can eliminate some job functions, and so that the accounting wouldn't have had to enter that information in the first place. It would have gone directly into the system. So pretty cool stuff. All right, let's go back out to the Employee tab. Now, let's take a look at a little bit about dashboards. I kind of like to see the expense reports, but right now we have no dashboards, no metrics in there. So let's see how easy this is. I'm going to go into edit mode. And I'm going to insert an item from my toolbox. We'll close out this. And if you notice, input fields, if I actually did an input field, if I was creating databases, these are the items I could actually use for the database. But in this case, we're interested in a report. So we could do pie charts, bar charts. And so let's just take a look at a pie chart for travel expense. And I'm interested in the expense items. And I'm going to pull it from the current data. And I'm going to organize it by expense type. And we'll click next. Some different things that we could do. Right now I'm interested in count. So then we can name it, get rid of the new, and we'll say next. We also have the ability of different sizes, large, medium, and small, and I'm going to say done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this so it's underneath the dashboards. Okay, I'm going to log out of being an administrator, so we'll go back to normal. And now if you remember, here's what our originally tab looked like. If we go over to dashboards, now we have a new metric. There is 14 meals, 2 lodging, 2 car rentals, and 12 airfares. And so let's take a look at the meals. And basically, it looks like Mr. Eichenlaub likes to eat at Wendy's quite a bit. So anyways, a little idea of how the metrics actually works. Thank you very much for joining this session, and we look forward to you in another demo.